All right, everybody. Thank you for joining this morning, and we appreciate everybody your coverage, and we're all excited for the Duke's Mayo Bowl here at Wake Forest. So with that, I will turn it over to Coach Clawson for an opening statement, and then he will take some questions, and then following Coach will be our four captains.
All right, good morning, everybody. Good to see you virtually, and thanks for joining us. And we are looking forward to head down to Charlotte early this afternoon. And once again, just want to thank Danny Morrison and the Charlotte Sports Foundation for inviting us to play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. We are really looking forward to the challenge of playing a very good Wisconsin football program. And like I said, we've had a great week of practice. I think the energy level of our players has been great. We've had some really good practices, and we've made the very best of preparing for a bowl during COVID and a pandemic. So again, one day from today, we wrap up our season and we're excited to go. With that, I'll open it up.
Dave, I guess at this point, as the anxiety of this game might be called off, faded, and now it's anxiety to play a game and anxiousness to play?
Well, 2020 and anxiety have gone hand in hand. So, in the next hour is usually when I start getting the calls when COVID tests don't go well. So I'm just going to kind of hold my breath for the next 60 minutes. And if we can get through the next hour, at least I know from a Wake Forest standpoint, we're in pretty good shape. And then I'll start worrying about the actual game. So that's been the 21-week routine.
Did you just turn off your phone?
Well, I turned it off for the press conference, or at least I think I did. But usually, we get the tests back late at night, early in the morning, and then we go through them once, and then we double check them, and then I kind of get the all clear or the and so right now, no news is good news. So we're expecting to drive down later today, and I think we're going to be fine.
Dave, it's interesting. Wisconsin has played the most of their season toward the end of the year. You guys were at the beginning. Does that give them maybe a slight advantage because they've had more recent games, or how do you think that goes?
Oh, it's hard to tell. I mean, I certainly feel better about this one than I did Louisville because we at least have been able to practice. So I think our kids are fresh. They probably are in a little bit more of a rhythm because they got to play in the game on the 19th that we didn't. But again, this is a little bit of an extended break for both teams. Ours is a little bit longer, but again, it's 2020, John. These things have happened all year, and they can't be excuses for not playing well. We have our hands full enough with the quality of the opponent and how good Wisconsin is, and I can't get worried about when we last played a game. Or a lot of years you control that with scheduling, and this year we didn't have any control over that. So, the situation is what it is, and we're making the best of it, and I'm sure they're doing the same. Les, you missed my fascinating opening statement. Boy, it was exciting today. You missed it.
Unfortunately, the link wasn't working for me, John, and Larry Sorensen. We were in a separate room. We were just going to do our own press conference, I guess.
We got worried that the game was not going to be played.
Dave, I'm sure Jasir Taylor's coming back for the next year. He announced on Twitter. Have any other seniors that went through senior day told you that they're coming back also?
Again, I'll let those guys announce it, but we've had way more good news than bad news. So as tough as this season was, I think there's going to be some decisions made here that set us up to be a very good football team in 21. And I just think for a lot of these players, they felt they got cheated out of their senior year, and they don't want this to be their last year of college football. So the overwhelming majority of those guys will come back. So next year, I'll probably be coaching the oldest, most experienced football team that I've ever coached.
Dave, how would you characterize practice the last week? What did you guys get accomplished in terms of preparation for Wisconsin? And then also, what were some of kind of the fun things that you were able to incorporate, considering, the lack of being able to go out and do things as a team like you normally could?
Yeah, I think once we got invited to a bowl and they could see it on the ESPN ticker, Wake Forest versus Wisconsin, December 30th, I think that gave the players some closure with everything we've been through. And, we've been here 6 straight months now, that there's closure. We're either going to play that game and it's over, or we're not and it's over. And I think this burden of uncertainty just got lifted off their shoulder. And I've seen more laughing, joking at practice. And again, they're serious about the preparation, but in some ways, I feel they've had more fun this week than at any point this season. And, we've done things after practice. We put it out there on social media of having the linemen catch punts, having a snapper, holder, kicker with non-specialist competition, just doing little fun things at the end of practice for competition. I think the players have really gotten into it. And the other part of it, Les, is the student athletes at Wake Forest work hard in the classroom. I mean, our players go to class, they write papers, they take tests at a very difficult academic school. And part of the reason I think the bowl experience is so enjoyable for our players is, it's the time they get to enjoy each other and enjoy football, and they're not stressed out about their business exam or their political science paper or their calculus test. Our players have really enjoyed the bowl because they get to enjoy each other, they get to enjoy football, and the academic stresses that exist at Wake Forest, for these 10 to 15 days don't exist. So it's, again, it's enjoyable for me to see our players have fun. And I think that's part of the reason, for the most part, we've played well in bowls.
Dave, what do you think of John Wolford? Probably going to start his first game, and I know he was there your first 4 years. I mean, he's got a lot of pressure on him, I imagine. He
does, but if you know John's prepared every week like he is the starting quarterback. He's very smart. He knew at some point this opportunity would come. And whether it was 8 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, or 3 years from now, John will be ready. This isn't like Kendall Hinton being pushed into duty 24 hours before. John has really spent the last 3 years of his life preparing for this moment. And John is one of my all-time favorite players. I think in a lot of ways, he represents all the best about Wake Forest. Under-recruited, undersized, didn't have immediate success, but just through perseverance, courage, will, smarts, made himself one of the very best quarterbacks in the ACC. And I think for him to get an opportunity to play and start, I know John is ready. And the Rams would not have him in that position if they didn't have confidence in him.
On that note, did you speak with John about some of the feedback you were getting from NFL teams? Because I know John, considering his work ethic, he's trying to consider what the best option was for him at that point in 16.
Are you talking about in 18?
Or, 2018, not 16.
Yeah, I mean, John and I have always stayed in touch. I mean, when he was here last summer, him and Phil Haynes came over into our house for dinner. And I mean, again, John and I stay close, but if you know John's not taking phone calls this week. I mean, John is here, and that's why he's successful. So I shot him a text. I'd be shocked if he returns it, not because he's rude, just because he's got a job to do and all of his energy and focus is going to be on that. And, the only thing that I shared with John in 18 is John had some really, really good job offers in business on Wall Street in New York City. And some of those offers were going to pay a lot more than his football options at the time. And, the only advice is you get one chance to do this, you have the rest of your life to work. Don't go into business and have regrets and wonder what you could have done in football. You're still young, you still have time. You're not going to become an old banker at 25. And, here's a guy that truly pursued his passion with everything he had. And I'm thrilled for him, and I'm going to be rooting hard for him. And, I would not bet against John Wolford at some point becoming a full-time starter in the NFL.
Dave, you typically don't get a chance to watch NFL. Will you watch him this weekend?
I've watched one NFL game this year, Dave. And that was the Denver Broncos with K2 as the starting quarterback. And the second NFL game I'll watch this year is going to be the Rams and the Cardinals. So, yeah, I'm a Kendall Hinton fan. I'm a John Wolford fan. Last night, I for a little bit while I was watching some film on Wisconsin, I turned to the right and there was Justin Herron starting for the New England Patriots. So I love to keep an eye on our guys in the league, and we're proud of all of our players. But the other thing, every time I watch those guys on TV, I say, it's pretty cool that these guys also have Wake Forest degrees. They're not a play away from their life and their career being over, because those guys will be able to do anything when they're done.
Coach Chris indicated yesterday that Jalen Berger had returned to the practice field and was doing some things. What does he present on the football field? What's the key to slowing him down?
Well, he's a really, really good running back for them. Wisconsin has a history and a tradition of having great tailbacks. And so with what they have in their program, for a freshman to be starting for him tells you how good they think he is. So he's got some really impressive runs on film. He's going to be a beast in that league for years to come. And, we certainly expected him to come back and play. And again, he's another really good player for him. So, when Wisconsin is in a rhythm, they are pounding the football, they're downhill, their backs are running you over, making you miss. And that sets up a really lethal play action game that they have. Because with them, you have to commit so many people to stop the run that it gives them great perimeter matchups. But he's an outstanding back, and he's a good player. And again, we expected him to play. Again, we know how talented he is.
Dave, yesterday on Josh's show, you were mentioning that team meeting, I guess, after the Carolina game is kind of one of your highlights of the season. Can you talk a little bit more about that as far as, the guys wanting to keep the season going, because you said that was kind of the lowest point?
Yeah, we had, we had a little bit of an outbreak, and then we had to cancel a couple of games. And the mental exhaustion on our football team was starting to take a toll. And I think the captains wanted to call a team meeting to kind of rally the troops. And the reaction from a lot of the players is, hey, why are we doing this? We're not playing. And I was really proud of our captains, because I think they made a stand. And they basically said, if you don't want to play, then opt out. There's no punishment. You're not losing your scholarship. We want the players here that want to play football. And we want to finish this season, and we're not quitting, and we're going to do it the right way. And if you're not with us, opt out, go home. No hard feelings. And I just think out of that meeting, it's hard to have good leadership without conflict at times. And I think our captains learned that lesson in the team meeting, that, when you get 120 strong-willed people in a room, they're not all going to agree with each other. But we got to a point that the guys that love football took the lead. I think the good teammates said, if it's that important to them, then we owe it to them to stick it out. And I'm sure we have some guys going down to Charlotte that were hoping that the season would be over. But no, regardless of what they said or what they felt, I think what they did is important. And what they did is they stuck it out to the end, and they were there for their teammates, and especially the seniors, that this could be their last year of football. And I just felt at that point, you were in or you were out. There was nobody on the fence, and that allowed us to finish the year. And I'm proud of the stand our leaders took. And I think whatever comes of this game, I think that we are a closer, more together football team and football program right now than we've been all year because of that meeting.
Moving forward, do you believe that will help your team going into next season when you consider what you said earlier, that you might have your oldest group coming back with most of the senior group returning?
I don't know how it couldn't help us, Josh. That a lot of the guys that ran that meeting and took the lead on that meeting are still going to be on our football team next year. And, you know, going into this season, this is the first time we haven't had a returning captain. You know, whether it was Ryan Javion or Cam Serenay or Wendell Dunn or Cade Carney. And so one of my big concerns this year going into the year before COVID was just who are the leaders going to be? And then when you don't get a March, April, May, and June in the weight room and spring football to establish that leadership, it becomes even more challenging. And I think it took something like this for Luke Masterson and Jasir Taylor and Brandon Chapman and Sam Hartman to become the leaders they now are. You know, when you win in 4 games in a row, and it's easy to lead. You know, when you blow a 21-point lead and you have 2 games canceled because of COVID, it's harder to lead. And, you know, the testament and the sign of good leadership is who can lead during tough times. And not just our captains. I think there were other people that really stepped up and said, hey, we're not ending the season this way. And like I said, you know, at 4:00 tomorrow, one way or the other, the season will be complete. But there are benefits of this season that will definitely help us in 21.
Dave, one of the shakeups on the depth chart looks to have happened at wide receiver for you guys. Is there something that Taylor Morin has done in the last few weeks to kind of vault him to that starting role? Well,
You know, part of it is, you know, the emergence of Keyshawn Williams. You know, first of all, Ja'Cory Roberson has had an outstanding year for us and has really grown in leaps and bounds. And with all these practices, Keyshawn Williams keeps making plays, and Taylor Morin is too good of a player to not play. So we've moved Taylor to the outside, and Taylor's reliable, dependable, tough, has breakaway speed. I mean, Taylor might be the fastest receiver in the room. And again, he's a really smart player who can play multiple positions. So, you know, every move we make, Les, gives us a chance to get our best players on the field.
Coach Clawson, this is Richard Walker, CarolinaSportsHub.com. Obviously, a lot of guys. The Charlotte trip is a homecoming. Among them is your kicker, Nick Skiba. Talk about how Nick has done for you in his career and this season specifically.
I mean, Nick's been outstanding. I think he's one of the best kickers in the country. He owns the NCAA record for consecutive field goals. And he's a guy that just has grown in every way. His leg is stronger, he's more accurate, and he's become a leader on our football team. We love Nick Skiba.
Anything else for Coach, guys? All right, Coach, that'll wrap you up today.
All right, thanks. And Happy New Year to all of you. And hopefully in 2021, we can get together in person.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Yep,
Dave.
take care.
Safe.
All right, and with that, we'll have Sam Hartman here next, and we'll open it up for questions as soon as you guys are ready and Sam's all settled in there.
Hey, just our general, Sam, good morning. What's the excitement level and how's practice been the last week as you guys are gearing up for this final contest of 2020?
Yeah, you definitely feel it in the air. Obviously, it's just a different experience in the past 2 years, not traveling, but again, it's just a great opportunity to go out and play a big time program, and for some of us, like a little bit of a homecoming and kind of a redemption for the Notre Dame, like not having the Notre Dame game. So you can feel it, and I think a big thing, and this might sound whatever, but I think guys are definitely tired, and guys are, we've been here for a long time, and to have a kind of a set schedule and a set end date has definitely been kind of a motivator for guys, because we want to finish strong, and that's been a big message for the captains and for the leaders and the older guys on the team is, we started this, so let's finish it right. But definitely giving guys an end date and saying, hey, like, no matter what, at whatever, 4 or 5 o'clock tomorrow, this thing's over. Let's give it all we have, till that very last, second, whatever, has really been helping us.
Knowing the type of offense that Wisconsin has and the fact that they like to control the clock and have the ball, is there even more pressure on your offense to move the chains?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely are taking a big, precedence on staying on the field and trying to control the clock in our way. But we're not going to, change anything. We're going to play our game and play fast and do what we do. But it's definitely in the back of our minds that 3 and outs are going to be our killer this week, and we're going to try and hit those.
Sam, how would you characterize the meeting that Coach Clawson was describing, where he described it to be the low point of the year, where you guys weren't practicing, and it almost seemed like some guys were figuring whether or not it was worth it to continue. And he described the senior leaders as being guys saying, you don't have to be here, you could opt out if you want to, but most guys decided to stay. What do you remember about it?
It's definitely the biggest thing is we understood what was going on and what guys were feeling. We were all freshmen at some point. There's always a point in your freshman year. There's always a point in, really every year where it gets hard, but really no different than any year is that, college football is long. College football makes you miss Thanksgivings. College football makes you miss Christmas and hopefully makes you miss New Year's. If you come to a school like this, you're going to, and you want to play college football, you almost want to miss Christmas. You want to miss New Year's because that means you're a good football team and you're playing in New Year's 6, you're playing in, playoffs and all that. And I think that was kind of a big message that we tried to get across is, at the end of the day, like if you're doing this right, you're not really going home much. And obviously it's different. You're not seeing your families after the games. You're not, being able to go home on a bye week and all that. But I think that was a big part of it is like every freshman kind of has that, woe is me point in the season. And this year has been especially hard, and we wanted them to, know that we understood. But, at the end of the day, that's college football. And if that's, not what you signed up for, then obviously we gave them that was the option. If you didn't want to be here, there was no, hard feelings. There's no punishment. And it is what it is. And really, secondly, was really the fact that, like, as a team, we started this and we wanted to finish it. That's, as a, human, as a guy growing up, as a man, growing up, your parents, instill in you different values, and a lot of us got instilled in the value of, you start something and you don't give up until it's finished to completion with your best effort. And that was what we, as a Wake Forest football player, and the guys who came before me, like the Carneys, the Walfords, all those guys. That's what they would, really wanted us to do, and that's what they left in me, and we're trying to instill in the guys below us.
Speaking of those guys, going into the year, you said that you wanted to become a leader on this team. That's something that mattered to you. Going through what's been an unprecedented year, what do you think you've learned about what it means to be a leader?
I mean, it's really just, everything is all good when you're winning football games, because it's like, there's a little problem. Some freshmen are upset. They don't want to be here, whatever. Anybody's upset. They don't want to be here. Kids are mad about this. Somebody's upset about that. But we're winning, so it's cool, and everybody's happy, because at the end of the day, winning really cures everything. But it's when you start losing, it's when kind of everything is looking pretty bleak. But at the end of the day, you got to be able to lead at both points, and no matter how low it gets or how high it gets, you got to just be able to consistently get the best out of every guy on the team, and be able to take the blame when everything's going wrong, and be able to still stick to whatever you believe in and whatever you're preaching.
Sam, as a greater Charlotte kid and as a soon-to-be Wake enrollee, were you at the Belk Bowl in 2017?
Sadly, no. I was supposed to be there, but I was becoming a godfather for a niece of mine in Wisconsin, nonetheless, which is kind of like a little spin zone. It was -15. And those cousins gave me a nice text when they found out we were playing Wisconsin, because my cousin, his wife is a Wisconsin alum, and so it was a good little thing there. But no, it was -15, and I don't plan on trying to get up there in this like time of year. It was cold.
Sam, how old were you when you decided you wanted to play on Bank of America Stadium? Did you go to a Panthers game when you were growing up, or?
Yeah, growing up, parents had season tickets, and we were like the Loam days, Steve Smith. It was, I think my brother, when he was born, was the first event he went to, was a Carolina Panthers game. One of my first things I went to. So it's a cool place. It's definitely got, some ties for me, and obviously Will being there as a quarterback is kind of cool, and knowing some of those guys. But at the end of the day, it's a football stadium, and it's cool that my parents don't have to travel very far, and I get some other relatives in there. But it's really just all about the end result of the game than anything else.
So did you get to watch the Belk Bowl up there?
I got bits and pieces. It's kind of hard in the church to really sneak it in. So I just heard it was a really good game at the end, and get told about it about once a week about how good John Wofford played. So.
Will you guys get enough possessions to score 55 this time around?
If we do that, that'll be pretty special, just based on time of possession. But if we do, and that'll be nice. I'd love to be able to point at the NFL starting quarterback John Wofford and tell him I outdid him at Bank of America.
Sam, when you guys played against Louisville, obviously Kenny wasn't there and Donovan didn't play. Do you feel like you might be in better rhythm, this game, just knowing, Christian Beal will be out there and hopefully Donovan will play? I mean, do you think that's going to help the offense a little bit?
Yeah, and I mean, I think it's just all out of sorts, in all phases of that football game. And again, it was, not to make excuses, but it had been a long couple of weeks, and travel wasn't great up there and whatever. But definitely, these weeks of practice have felt a lot better and a lot smoother, and guys are, finding rhythms back, and it's feeling more like going into those, first couple weeks of games where, guys are flying around, guys are feeling good. So yeah, it definitely feels different.
Anything else here for Sam?
I've got to ask, you mentioned John Wofford. I mean, it's been 44 years since a Wake quarterback started at quarterback, and then you got Kendall Hinton, and you've got John in the same year doing so. As the current Wake quarterback, does that excite you at all about what your future could hold?
Yeah, no, it's always cool to see guys, come before you and do what you're currently doing, and then, have success at the next level. So I'm excited for him, and everyone knows John Wofford and his preparation. I'm sure he's you know, he's been ready since week one to take this job over, and I know he's going to, you know, make the most of it. And, you know, I can't wait to watch and support him. And I'm sure he'll do great.
Thanks, Sam.
All righty. Gucci.
All right. And with that, we'll turn it over and have Luke Masterson next.
How's it going?
Good, Luke. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
You guys always ask that, and then nobody ever answers you. So, what's the past couple weeks been like? It's finally a season coming to a close. Is there kind of some excitement in not only playing a game, but you know this is going to be the last one?
Yeah, guys are super excited about this opportunity. It's been a really long season, and you know, after what happened with Florida State and kind of, you know, getting that taken away from us, I think guys are, you know, knock on wood, hopefully everything's good with this game, and guys are ready to go out and there and compete.
Luke, we've been talking about that meeting you guys had after the Carolina game, and you had been injured at the time, and Dave was telling us it almost got, you know, why are we doing this type thing, and the leaders, which was you, kind of stepped up. I mean, how satisfied are you that you were able to stick this thing out and play till the end?
Well, yeah, I mean, it wasn't just me; it was the other captains as well, and really all the seniors really stepped up. And really, the purpose of the meeting was just to tell guys that we understand what they're going through. Like, I was a freshman at one point; I redshirted. I was on scout team. Everyone in the room has been in their shoes, and it's hard. There's nothing easy about being a freshman, being a young guy on the team, and you know, even the older guys. This is just a hard year. And then the circumstances we were in at that point with getting games canceled and stuff, it was just something that no one's ever been through. And you know, we wanted to just meet and, you know, have an open conversation about what was going on and how we move forward. And I think, you know, everyone's happy with the decision that we made to keep fighting through this and to finish this thing out strong. And it kind of gives us even more motivation going into this game, knowing that, you know, we were at a point where it could have ended and we chose to stay. And this is kind of the reward for that, you know, getting an opportunity to play a great team like Wisconsin and Charlotte, and, you know, hopefully end this year on a good note and go into 2021.
Do you think that was kind of the highlight of the season, or even though it was off the field type of thing?
I wouldn't say it's the highlight of the season, but I think it was probably one of the most important ones for sure. Just because, you know, we started off the year, everything was pretty normal in the beginning of the year, and nothing was really, COVID wasn't an issue here. And, you know, it was kind of, we heard about it in other programs and stuff. And we heard about it in other leagues, but really for us, we never really felt the effects of it till later in the year. So that was really when things kind of got hard with that stuff. And, you know, that was a pivotal moment in our season, and I'm hoping that it pays off with a W tomorrow.
Luke, what's the key to kind of holding that Wisconsin offense in check tomorrow?
There's a lot of things. They're a great offense, but I think probably the biggest thing is just eye discipline. You know, they run the ball a lot, and then they'll hit you with a play action. So it's just about discipline. You know, we got to be firm with our tackling and fit the run well. But when they do decide to pass it, and when they do decide to do those play action passes, we got to stay on top and make some plays.
It's exciting to get some of the guys in the secondary back there with you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm really excited.
Luke, what do you remember most about the Belk Bowl in 2017? You're one of the couple of guys that we're going to talk to today that played in it.
Yeah. That was just a crazy game. I mean, I think one of the things that I remember was just that feeling going into the fourth quarter. We kind of knew that it was going to be a fourth quarter game, but just the back and forth nature of how that game was, it was such a high scoring game. Obviously being on defense, that's never a good thing. But, you know, I think we had 2 block punts in the first quarter, the first half, and things really weren't looking good. And then we kind of just stuck with it and fought. And then when we got to the fourth quarter, we had a chance to win. I think that's kind of what Wake Forest football is about is winning the fourth quarter. And we're going to be in those games, a lot of situations, and it's about, executing the 2-minute drive and executing the stuff that we practice all the time. So I just really remember how we fought and really proud of that, that team for how we won that game.
So the cold gets erased from your memory with the win, because it was frigid that day.
Yeah, I remember a little bit of it, but when you're running around and stuff, you kind of forget. And when the adrenaline's going, you kind of forget about it. But a few people have reminded me of that.
Anything else for Luke?
Luke, is this with how many guys, like I think yourself and Jasir have said they're coming back for next year, and kind of the seniors that are taking senior year part 2 next year, is there a little bit of this game is just a preview to what next year can be with how experienced you guys are going to be?
Yeah, not at all, really. I mean, I think this year is this year. And I think kind of what Sam said and what we kind of touched upon is just how our big message is to finish this year strong. And we didn't come here in June or July and stay here for 6 months and sacrifice everything that we sacrificed to not finish the right way. So I think obviously guys are looking forward to next year, and I'm excited about the team that we're going to have next year. But really our focus right now is finishing this year strong and making all the sacrifices that we made worth it.
You guys good with Luke? All right, thanks. We'll have Brandon Chapman next.
Brandon, do you feel like Wisconsin may have a little bit of advantage because they've played their games at the end of the year, where most of your guys' games were really at the beginning of the year? Do you think that gives them a slight advantage?
Sorry, I was muted. I honestly, I think this year has just been really out of the ordinary. I mean, obviously before our Louisville game, we were off for 3 weeks and we were kind of out of rhythm, but I don't think it really gives anybody an advantage. I think as of lately, we've been having great practices. We've been driving together. We've been getting our rhythm back, and I really don't think that them having their games towards the end of their season really changes what the outcome is going to be.
We heard about this meeting after the Carolina game. Do you remember that specifically about when you guys almost, I don't know if decided to shut it down, but you guys were kind of contemplating what to do with the rest of the season?
Yeah, it was a player-led meeting that we held on Zoom. It was following one of our team meetings. It was just a lot of the older guys were kind of giving their perspective and what they've been through, and trying to relate to the younger guys, because a lot of the younger guys scout team, it's tough for those guys, especially because they're not playing, to stay and stick with it. So I think just relating to them and us talking to them, I think it really helped the situation, and just to show them that we're there for them, and we can relate what they're going through, that they're not doing it alone.
Luke mentioned, and you guys, some other guys have mentioned throughout the year, what you guys have sacrificed since June and July. I was wondering if you could tell us about some of those things. Like, tell us, I have an idea of it, but I'd like to kind of hear you tell me what those sacrifices have been.
Well, not for me in particular, because my family lives local, and I've been living with them. So I get to see them regularly. A lot of the guys on the team, they haven't been able to see their families since the summer. And I know that 2-week quarantine period that we had to do as a team in Poteet Hall for 2 weeks, just sitting in our rooms. That was really tough. Couldn't do anything, couldn't really associate with each other because you don't know who had what, who brought what. And I really just the main thing is just not being able to see our families. And I mean, family's a big thing for me, and it really didn't pertain to me this year, but I know a lot of guys in the team, they see family the same way I do, and not being able to see their family has been really tough. So I think that's the main one.
Brandon, I'm sorry if I missed this along the way, but have you made a final decision on next year yet?
No, I threw you for a loop last time, didn't I? Yeah, I'm coming back next year.
I think you said you were going to be added to the senior day list, and then I think your name was on there briefly, but then you weren't there. So I'm like,
yeah, I had to leave you with a little bit of unknown, huh?
Well, have you guys figured out who will be the oldest in age-wise next year of the guys that are coming back?
I think Miles. But for guys who've been here, I think Suleiman. Suleiman's an old man.
Miles is going for his 3rd degree.
Yeah, something like that. He may as well get his doctorate at this point.
How do you balance closing out the season with this team and this and not letting this just be a preview for what next year will be? Because looking at the roster right now, I mean, it looks like almost everybody playing in this game will be on this roster next year.
Yeah, I think this year's been just so wacky, so out of nowhere. I really think it's kind of a taste of what next year is going to be like, but I think we're just finishing the season for what it was, and we got to finish on the right note. But I think next year we're going to be special.
Anything else here for Brandon?
Brandon, what do you remember about the Belk Bowl in 2017?
Well, in the Belk Bowl, I had Cam Serenay, Devin Pike, Jack Frunthal all playing ahead of me. I was a specialist on kickoff return. So I remember the first kickoff return of the game, I broke my finger, and having to go back and do another 5 kickoff returns was pretty painful. But I think one thing that I definitely remember about it was just the camaraderie and everybody just so happy and celebrating in the locker room. It's something that I'll always remember. Just being with all those guys and all the hard work that we put in that year and it paying off.
Which finger?
What is it?
Which finger?
Oh, it's actually my ring finger. It's
ring finger.
Yeah, it's still a little deformed, but it's okay.
Just the price of a Belk Bowl ring.
Yeah. Getting to put a ring on it's perfectly. I think that's a perfectly good transaction. So.
Anything else for Brandon?
Thanks, Brandon.
All right, thanks. And we'll finish up here with Jasir Taylor. All right, and we'll open it up for Jasir whenever you guys are ready.
Hey, good morning, Jasir.
Good morning.
So what led to the decision in your announcement that you're coming back for another year next year?
When the NCAA announced that this year will be a free year, even in the beginning of the season, coming back was something I always wished for. My freshman year, I kind of wish I had back. Wish I redshirted like a lot of the people that came into my class. And then when this decision came about, I thought it was perfect for me just to get another year of playing football with my brothers and also continue to develop as a leader and a player.
Just here, one of Coach Clawson's big things about this season was the players only meeting, I guess you guys had after the Carolina game with COVID bearing down on you guys and then canceling the Duke game and all that. I imagine you were one of the top speakers in that meeting. I mean, what kind of things did you say to those young guys to kind of keep them going?
I was just connecting with the young guys because a lot of people have been in that position where you're young, you're not really playing, and it's really hard for them for their first year to be a COVID year and not really getting the experience of Wake Forest football and Wake Forest as a university as a whole. So I was just telling guys that this year is more important than any year with your mental and physical growth, and knowing that you persevered through something like this and that is greater than you, that it'll pay off for you.
This year, you said you wish you had that freshman year back. Did you kind of get thrown into the fire before you were ready?
I mean, yeah, in high school, I didn't really play DB as much. I never thought I'd play DB in college. I was always the offensive guy, slot receiver, jet sweep kind of guy. And then I got here and I turned into a DB. The DBs were thin. We had a guy who just left. And I guess my abilities or just the way the depth chart was set up, I was able to sneak my way into nickel. And then with a couple injuries, I had to start a couple games. And I would do it all over again my freshman year. I wouldn't choose the red shirt. I just put myself before the team, whether I was where I wanted to be or not. I was just happy to be out there.
How have you felt like where was your biggest growth? What year did you or what games did you go through your biggest growth and your biggest confidence boosts?
Probably starting last year against Florida State, my junior year. After that game, I had a good game. I had a talk with Coach Hemp. He was just wondering what did he need to do to get me rolling, and because he knew I had ability and confidence, but I wasn't showing it at all. I would have a good practice, maybe twice a week, and then a bad practice. I just needed that consistency, and I told him I needed to play more. I needed to have the ability to feel comfortable out there, and he let me do that Florida State game. And ever since then, my confidence went through the roof, and my ability, and I just kept building off of that into this season.
Just here, what are the challenges with Wisconsin's offense? They like to run the ball and control the clock. What do you see coming from them?
Coming from the people we play every week, it's kind of different. It's going to be a little boring for the corners in the pass game, but that's what they want. They want you to think that they're going to run the ball all game, just so that play that you take off, they'll throw a play action pass, and then it'll be for a touchdown. And they'll also force the corners to tackle. So coming in this week, we did a lot of tackling drills, and a lot of discipline with your eyes on keeping your eyes on your guys in play action.
So going back to that freshman year, what do you remember about the Belk Bowl? Because you were in there.
Yeah, I remember I was starting on nickel package and special teams, just like my normal deal. And then early in the first half, Amari went down with an injury, and I'm the next guy up. So I ended up playing the most snaps I ever played my freshman year against one of the best teams we played in the biggest games of my life. So I was really nervous. And then those guys like Amari and Isang, Camo, Jesse, they knew that, and they made sure they got around me and let me know that I deserve to be here and that they need me and they're counting on me to win. So I went out there, did the best I could, each play, played hard, and I really enjoyed myself out there. And getting that win in a
tough win like that and just seeing the excitement on my teammates' faces, it was nothing like I've seen before.
We see the stuff on Twitter with like the going back and forth with Cam and those guys, but how much of those guys meant to you, and how much has their mentorship meant? As I mean, they were basically with Sang and Amari were with you up until this year. Like, what have they meant to your career at Wake?
They meant a lot. They're a big part of my career here at Wake. I really didn't notice it that much when they were here because it was just normal. You know, anything I needed, any questions I had, I go to them. And then this year, none of them were around, nobody to fall back on, and people are asking me questions and things like that. So that's when you start to notice how important those guys were in my career. And I want to thank each and every one of them. I owe them a lot to the person I am, the player and the person I am today.
Is that one of the factors that led you to come back too, is that you get to do that for another year with guys like Kalen and Gavin?
Yeah, definitely. Once I look back and realize how important an older guy who knows what's going on and how things should be run with the young defense, and how important it is to give that guidance to the younger guys, it was kind of a no-brainer. I'll do anything for the improvement of this program and my brothers. So coming back was the best decision for me.
Just hear how much have you guys talked about John Wolford starting Sunday for the Rams? Have you guys talked a lot about that at practices and things?
Yeah, everybody here is excited to see what John can do. We all know what he's capable of. A lot of the younger guys don't even know who John is, so we tell them a bunch of stories about how he picks defenses apart, his preparation. He's literally in the locker room an hour a day scrubbing the footballs so they can have the perfect feel for him. He does a lot of things that I'm sure half of the football players don't do in order to prepare for a football game.
Anything else for Jasir?
How many picks did you have on John when it would have only been 2017?
Maybe one on the tip pass.
You guys all good?
Yep. Thanks, Jasir.
Thanks, Jasir.
Thanks, guys. That'll wrap us up. And I'll send out this recording if anybody didn't get it.
Thanks, Andrew.